I never thought I'd have to fight for the right to park in my own damn driveway. It was a crisp Saturday morning in late October, the kind of day that smelled like fallen leaves and distant bonfire smoke. My coffee mug was warm in my hands as I stood at the bay window, watching the neighborhood kids ride their bikes up and down Oak Ridge Lane. Everything seemed calm, suburban perfection. Two-story homes with trimmed lawns, identical mailboxes, and those dumb little flags fluttering in the breeze. Except for one thing. My driveway was empty. I froze, my brain doing a double take. Last night, my silver Ford Explorer was parked right there, right in front of the garage, like always. I even remembered tossing my gym bag in the back seat before heading inside. I set the mug down, grabbed my phone, and bolted outside barefoot. The concrete felt icy under my feet as I stared at the bare stretch of pavement. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. No way, I muttered. No freaking way. I scanned the street, hoping maybe I'd parked on the curb after all. But the curb was empty too. No broken glass, no sign of a break-in. My car was just gone. That's when I noticed the fluorescent orange slip taped to my front door. My stomach dropped. I ripped it off and read the words in all caps. Vehicle removed per HOA regulations. The coffee taste in my mouth turned bitter. I stormed back inside, shaking the paper in my hand. HOA, of course. The Homeowners Association, that little suburban dictatorship that thought it could control every square inch of our lives. I called the number on the notice, pacing the kitchen like a caged animal while the phone rang. Finally, a chipper voice answered. Good morning. Oak Ridge Community Association. This is Brenda speaking. How can I help you? Yeah, Brenda, you can start by telling me why the hell my car is gone. There was a pause. May I have your address, sir? I gave it to her through clenched teeth. She typed something, probably sipping her latte without a care in the world. Ah yes, she said finally, like she'd found a missing sock. Your vehicle was towed this morning for violating Section 14B of the Oak Ridge Covenants. What the hell is Section 14B? No overnight parking of non-compliant vehicles in driveways, she recited like a robot. Your vehicle is classified as non-compliant due to... Due to what? I snapped. The expired registration sticker visible on the rear plate. I blinked in disbelief. Are you kidding me? It expired yesterday. I already renewed it online. The new sticker's in the mail. I understand your frustration, Brenda said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. But rules are rules. You can retrieve your vehicle from Midtown Towing after paying the fees. How much? She cleared her throat. Currently, the fee is $375, plus $35 for each additional day. I almost dropped the phone. $375 for parking in my own driveway. Correct, sir. I could feel the heat rising in my chest, spreading to my face. I slammed the phone down and let out a guttural yell that probably scared the squirrels outside. By noon, I was at Midtown Towing, standing in a grimy office that smelled like burnt coffee and motor oil. The guy behind the counter didn't even look up when I walked in. Name, he grunted. Matt Johnson, I said through clenched teeth. He shuffled papers, then nodded toward a steel door. Explorer's out back. That'll be $375 cash or card. I handed him my card like I was giving away a kidney. He swiped it without even blinking, then tossed me a receipt. No apology, no explanation, just business as usual. When I finally got to my car, my hands were trembling. It looked lonely sitting in the corner of the lot, dust already coating the hood. I climbed in, started the engine, and sat there for a long moment staring at the cracked asphalt. $375 gone. Just like that. For what? For a sticker that hadn't even arrived yet. But it wasn't just the money. It was the principle. They'd taken my car, from my own driveway. That wasn't just overreach. That was war. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and a cold beer sweating in my hand. I started reading every single page of the HOA bylaws, all 62 of them, highlighted like some kind of twisted Bible. No overnight parking of non-compliant vehicles. No commercial vehicles. No RVs. No trailers. No unsightly modifications. It was like a manifesto for suburban control freaks. I stared at that phrase, no commercial vehicles, and a thought began to form. A dangerous, glorious thought that made me grin like a lunatic. If they wanted to play hardball, I'd bring the whole damn stadium. That's when I opened a new tab and typed the words. Used monster trucks for sale near me. And just like that, the plan was born. They wanted to make me feel small. I'd show them what big really looked like. I could already picture it. The roar of the engine, the shadow it would cast over those perfect little houses, the look on Brenda's face when she saw it parked in my driveway like a steel middle finger to her HOA dictatorship. This wasn't just revenge. This was a statement. And I was ready to make it loud. The next morning, the sun was barely peeking over the rooftops when I slid into my Explorer and headed downtown. My phone buzzed with a new email, some HOA newsletter about community harmony and compliance expectations. I almost laughed out loud. Harmony? Yeah, they were about to hear me loud and clear. I pulled into a lot behind a grimy metal building with a crooked sign that read, Big Mike's Custom Trucks, where size matters. Perfect. The moment I stepped inside, I was hit with the smell of motor oil, gasoline, and testosterone. Chrome rims lined the walls, and suspension lifts hung from the ceiling like trophies. A man in a camo baseball cap and grease-stained t-shirt approached me with a grin that said I've seen some stuff. You looking to go big or go home? He asked. I smirked. Big. As big as it gets. He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What are we talking, lift kit? Oversized tires? Or full-on beast mode? Beast mode, I said without hesitation. Something that makes people stop and stare. Something that says, don't mess with me. Mike's grin widened like a kid on Christmas morning. Follow me. He led me out back to a gravel lot that looked like a monster truck graveyard. Hulking machines with names like Bone Crusher and Mudzilla painted in screaming neon colors. And then I saw it. A matte black Ford F-250 Super Duty with a custom lift so high you'd need a ladder to climb in. Massive 54-inch tires, blacked-out windows, steel bumpers like battering rams, and LED light bars that looked like they could blind an aircraft pilot. It was beautiful. Intimidating. Everything I wanted and more. I walked around it slowly, my fingers brushing the cold metal. It was less a truck and more a declaration of war. Mike leaned against the hood, smirking. She's a bad girl. 700 horsepower, 6-inch exhaust, straight pipe roar. Ain't exactly street legal in California. But hey, we're not in California. How much? I asked, bracing myself. He named a price that made my bank account scream for mercy. But at that point, I didn't care. This wasn't just a purchase. It was an investment in freedom. I'll take it, I said, my voice steady. By the time I rolled out of Big Mike's lot, the ground shook beneath me. The engine's growl was deep and guttural, like some mechanical beast waking up from a 1,000-year nap. Heads turned. Phones came out. I saw a kid drop his soda just to gape at the truck rumbling down Main Street like a conquering king. I drove straight home, a grin plastered across my face as I imagined the HOA's reaction. When I pulled onto Oak Ridge Lane, the neighborhood looked exactly the same. Peaceful, perfect, boring. Until I turned the corner. Every head in sight snapped toward me. Lawn mowers stopped mid-row. A woman walking her poodle froze like she'd seen Godzilla. My new ride loomed over their sedans and SUVs like a skyscraper in a trailer park. I eased into my driveway, the tires crushing fallen leaves like bones. The truck barely fit between the property lines. Hell, it didn't even fit under the garage eaves. But that was the point. This wasn't about fitting in. This was about standing out. As I killed the engine, I caught movement across the street. Brenda, the queen of the HOA, was standing on her porch in her signature pink cardigan, clutching a mug like it was a lifeline. Her jaw dropped. Then she whipped out her phone. I chuckled. Here we go. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. I answered on speaker while admiring the monster truck from my front steps. Mr. Johnson, this is Brenda from the Oak Ridge Community Association. Her voice was tight, brittle. I couldn't help but notice a, large vehicle in your driveway. Yeah, you like it? I said cheerfully. Picked her up this morning. Beautiful, isn't she? There was a pause. Mr. Johnson, that vehicle is clearly non-compliant with our neighborhood standards. It exceeds the allowable height for driveway parking and... Oh, Brenda, I interrupted, grinning. I read the bylaws. All 62 pages. There's nothing in there about maximum vehicle height. Nothing about monster trucks. Nothing about loud engines or LED lights. Sir, that vehicle is an eyesore, she snapped, her sugary tone slipping. Funny, I said, because my driveway's private property. And you know what's really an eyesore? A tow truck hauling away someone's car for an expired sticker. She sputtered. We have the right to enforce community harmony. Then maybe start by not stealing people's cars, I said flatly, and hung up. By dusk, word had spread like wildfire. Neighbors wandered past pretending to walk their dogs, snapping pictures of the truck towering over my house. Kids begged for rides. Some dads nodded at me like I'd just landed on the moon. But then the warnings started. A note taped to my mailbox. Remove the vehicle or face fines. An email titled Urgent Violation Notice. I laughed at them all. They wanted to play petty games? I was ready to burn the whole playbook. That night, I climbed into the cab of my new beast, cranked the engine, and felt the power vibrate through my bones. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was personal. I wasn't backing down. Not this time. But deep down, I knew the HOA wasn't either. And something told me they were about to strike back harder than ever. The first salvo came at dawn. I woke up to the sound of metal scraping against asphalt, followed by muffled voices outside my window. At first, I thought it was a dream. Then I heard it, the deep mechanical growl of a diesel engine. I bolted out of bed, pulled on a hoodie, and ran to the window. Two tow trucks. Two. Parked nose to nose in my driveway, their hydraulic arms creeping toward the wheels of my monster truck like vultures circling a carcass. And standing between them, clipboard in hand, was Brenda. Pink cardigan, tight bun, lips curled in smug satisfaction. "Oh, hell no," I muttered, grabbing my keys. The screen door slammed behind me as I stormed out barefoot, the morning chill biting at my skin. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I shouted. Brenda didn't flinch. She turned slowly, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Mr. Johnson, you were given written notice. Multiple notices, in fact. This vehicle violates community standards, and per HOA authority, it will be removed immediately." I laughed, a harsh sound that carried down the street. "Removed? Good luck with that." One of the tow truck guys, a beefy dude with a neck tattoo, spoke up. "Sir, step aside. We don't want trouble." "You're not towing my truck," I said, planting myself between them and the beast. "You're not even equipped to move this thing. It's lifted higher than your tow arms." He hesitated. "We'll figure it out." "Oh yeah," I said, climbing the ladder into the cab. "Let's see you try." The engine roared to life with a deafening growl that shook the air. Exhaust fumes curled around us like smoke from a dragon's nostrils. Neighbors spilled out of their houses, phones in hand, ready to film the showdown of the century. I revved the engine hard, and the sound echoed off the pristine cul-de-sac like thunder. Brenda flinched, clutching her clipboard tighter. "This is harassment," I yelled out the window. "You touch this truck, I'll sue you and the whole damn HOA into oblivion." Brenda tried to shout over the noise, but her words were lost in the roar. I gunned it forward a foot, the tires chewing up the edge of the driveway, spitting gravel like bullets. The tow guys backed off fast, hands raised. "You're making a big mistake, Mr. Johnson," Brenda screamed, her voice cracking. "No," I said, my voice low and deadly calm. "The mistake was towing my car. This," I gestured at the truck, at the chaos, at the crowd of gawking neighbors. "This is payback." The standoff dragged on for 10 tense minutes until the tow trucks finally retreated, engines grumbling in defeat. Brenda stood there trembling with rage, her pink cardigan practically vibrating. "This isn't over," she hissed. "Oh, it's just getting started," I shot back, smiling like a wolf. That afternoon, the retaliation began. First came the fines. $250 for unsightly property, $150 for disturbing community peace, $100 for unauthorized vehicle modifications. The total climbed past $1,000 in less than a week. Then they weaponized the neighborhood Facebook group. Posts popped up like weeds. "Why can't people follow the rules?" I saw on Oak Ridge. Who else is sick of it? My name wasn't mentioned, but everyone knew. The whispers turned to glares. Some neighbors cheered me on in secret, texting things like, "Love the truck, man. Stick it to him." Others crossed the street to avoid me. Brenda, though? She was relentless. Every day brought a new notice, a new threat. She even called the county to report me for operating a commercial vehicle in a residential zone. The inspector came out, took one look at the truck, and said, "Cool ride," before leaving. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. One night, around midnight, I woke to a strange sound. A hissing noise, soft but unmistakable. My gut clenched. I threw on jeans and bolted outside. My heart sank. All 4 tires, slashed. The beast was bleeding air, sagging like a wounded animal. And taped to the windshield was a note, written in neat, perfect cursive. Remove it or else. I stood there under the glow of the street lamp, fists trembling, rage boiling up so hot I could taste it. They'd crossed the line. This wasn't just petty fines and passive-aggressive notes anymore. This was sabotage, a declaration of war in the dead of night. And in that moment, I made a promise to myself. No, a vow. If they wanted war, I'd give them a damn apocalypse. For the next 48 hours, I barely slept. I worked the phone, called in favors, and maxed out my credit card like a madman on a mission. By the time the sun rose on day 3, the driveway no longer held just a monster truck. It held two, and both were bigger, louder, and meaner than the first. One matte black, one fire engine red with chrome skulls on the grill. When I fired them up, the sound shook the whole block. Car alarms went off. Dogs barked. And when Brenda came storming down the street in her pink cardigan, screaming like a banshee, I didn't flinch. I just smiled. Because this wasn't about a car anymore. This was about power. And I had just doubled mine. But as the engines roared and the neighborhood stared in stunned silence, one thought hit me like a sucker punch. This was going to end in flames, one way or another. By now, Oak Ridge Lane didn't look like a quiet suburban street anymore. It looked like the front row of a monster truck rally. Every day, more neighbors came out with folding chairs, popcorn, and their phones ready to live stream the drama. My two trucks sat in the driveway like twin gods of chaos, their chrome gleaming in the sun, casting long shadows over Brenda's perfectly manicured lawn across the street. But the HOA wasn't just going to roll over and die. They were regrouping, planning, waiting for their chance to strike. It came in the form of an emergency HOA meeting. Community members are strongly encouraged to attend tonight's special session to address a major violation impacting the integrity of Oak Ridge Estates. The email read. Integrity. Yeah, that was rich. When I walked into the clubhouse that evening, every eye turned to me. The place smelled like coffee and baked goods, the kind of fake hospitality they used to lure people in before they gutted them. A long table at the front held the board members, Brenda dead center in her pink cardigan like some suburban queen on her throne. Mr. Johnson, she said as I took a seat in the back, thank you for joining us. Oh, wouldn't miss it, I said, flashing a smile sharp enough to draw blood. She cleared her throat and launched into her speech about community standards and aesthetic harmony. Her voice dripped sugar, but her eyes were daggers. Finally, she got to the point. Due to repeated violations, she said, the board has unanimously voted to impose maximum fines on Mr. Johnson, effective immediately. Failure to pay within 30 days will result in a lien on your property. Gasps rippled through the room. I just leaned back, hands behind my head. Anything else? I asked. Brenda's smile widened. Yes. We've also scheduled a vote to amend the bylaws to explicitly ban oversized vehicles from the neighborhood. Once that passes, you'll have 14 days to remove your trucks, or we'll take legal action. The smugness in her voice was like nails on a chalkboard. People nodded along, some whispering, some glaring at me like I'd brought a circus to their doorstep. Which, honestly, wasn't far from the truth. I stood slowly, feeling every eye in the room follow me. You're really proud of yourselves, huh? I said, my voice calm measured. You think you can bleed me with fines, rewrite the rules just to crush me, and I'll just roll over? Mr. Johnson, Brenda started, but I cut her off. No, you had no problem towing my car out of my own driveway over a sticker that was one day expired. No warning, no grace period, just pure, petty power. And you know what? That day, I decided something. I walked down the aisle, stopping just a few feet from Brenda's table. I decided you don't get to control me. Not in my own home. Not in my own driveway. So go ahead. Change the rules. Write your little fines. Threaten your lawsuits. You can't break me. For a second, the room was dead silent. Then I dropped the bomb. Because I'm not paying a damn dime. And guess what? Neither are half the people in this room once they see what I've got planned. Whispers erupted. Brenda's face turned crimson. Security, she barked. But I was already walking out, my heart pounding like a war drum. The next morning, my plan went live. I'd spent 2 sleepless nights setting up a Facebook page, Monster Madness at Oak Ridge. Every photo, every video, every HOA notice I'd received, I posted them all. I told the whole story, how they towed my car, how they tried to crush me, how they vandalized my truck. And then I invited the internet to a charity car show in my driveway. I wrote, "Come see the most hated trucks in America, live in Oak Ridge. Free food, live music, and every penny goes to veterans and first responders. HOA says I'm ruining the neighborhood. Let's prove them wrong." Within hours, it blew up. Local news picked it up. Car clubs shared it. By the weekend, my quiet little cul-de-sac looked like a county fair. Dozens of tricked-out trucks lined the street. Music thumped. Kids ate cotton candy. And a food truck parked right in Brenda's driveway. Because, guess what? Someone rented it, and she couldn't stop them. Brenda came storming out like a demon unleashed, waving her clipboard, shrieking about permits and violations. But the cameras were rolling, and every time she screamed, the crowd cheered louder. She was trending on TikTok by noon. Hashtag Cardigan Karen was born. By sunset, the HOA surrendered. They couldn't fight the bad press, the viral videos, the hundreds of people who showed up smiling and spending money for charity. Brenda resigned the next day for personal reasons. And me? I didn't just keep my trucks. I became a local legend. A month later, I stood in my driveway, leaning against the matte black beast that started it all, watching the sun dip low behind the rooftops. A kid rode by on his bike and yelled, "Nice truck, Mr. J." I grinned, tossing him a high five as he sped past. For the first time in weeks, I felt peace. No fines, no threats, no HOA breathing down my neck. Just me, my trucks, and a driveway that was finally, truly mine. I cracked open a beer, took a long pull, and whispered to myself, "Don't mess with my ride." And somewhere out there, I swear I could still hear Brenda screaming. If you enjoyed this intense story, smash that like button and subscribe for more gripping, cinematic tales. Don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss the next thriller. Your support keeps these stories coming.